Those are the headlines and our top focus. The United Nations has expressed serious concern following a deadly Israeli strike on a residential area in southern Beirut. UN spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric has called for all parties involved in the conflict to exercise maximum restraint and avoid further escalation. He's also emphasized that civilians and civilian areas must not be targeted and has reiterated the need to respect Lebanon's territorial integrity and sovereignty. He's also reminded all parties of their obligations under UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which calls for cessation of hostilities. Israel has, in fact, carried out near daily strikes on Lebanon since the truce, targeting what it says are Hezbollah arms depots, fighters and efforts by the group to rebuild. Meanwhile, the United Nations continues to push for a peaceful resolution and the protection of civilian lives. Take a look.
We are seriously concerned about the deadly Israeli strike on a residential area in southern Beirut yesterday. We urge all actors to exercise maximum restraint and to avoid any further escalation, and remind the parties that civilians in civilian areas must not be targeted. Lebanon's territorial integrity and sovereignty must be respected, and we reiterate our call for the parties to uphold their obligations to maintain a cessation of hostilities and to fully implement Security Council Resolution 1701. And I also want to flag that our special coordinator for Lebanon, Janine Hennis-Plasschaert, said that she is exercising her good offices to call for de-escalation and encourage the parties to fully uphold their respective obligations under the Security Council Resolution.
With us on the broadcast is Ms. Shruti Das-Gupta, International Affairs expert, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Of course, these strikes have elicited a lot of reactions. Now we've just heard what the United Nations has had to say. But coming to the matter at hand, we've seen the frequency of these attacks continue to increase. Initially, they were limited to just southern Lebanon. The Lebanese army has stated that this is a bid by Israel to prevent it from access to these areas. The obligations of the ceasefire deal have not been met. Hezbollah has not disarmed. Neither has Israel withdrawn from the territories that it is occupying in Lebanon. In light of all of this, what sort of message do you think Israel is trying to send through this particular strike in the capital city of the country? Not just to the Lebanese authorities, but also to Hezbollah and Iran.
Greetings, Pia. Thank you so much for inviting me. What I understand is that Israel has sent a message that the peace deal can be put in the trash can, because neither does the Hezbollah or the Lebanese government have fulfilled their part, and neither has Israel withdrawn, as you have rightly pointed out. So any conversation on a peace deal and keeping the peace or honoring the document is not being honored by the parties involved, and it is just show for the rest of the world. So one, that is there. Hezbollah's commander, second only to Qasim, I believe, was Hayatam Ali, who was downed in this particular attack, and that shows that Israel has deep intel inside Lebanon. They know exactly where they're hitting. No matter the casualties that are happening around it, they are managing to neutralize those elements that are working against the interest of Israel using Lebanese soil. So here, for me, it is the Lebanese government that needs to kind of sit up and take notice. Not that there are moles or information providers or agents inside Lebanon, but that Hezbollah is pretty much active in doing what they can to ensure that peace does not occur in the land of Lebanon or on the borders between Israel and Lebanon. So for me, I think it is important that they notice that although they are going to cry foul over a violation of sovereignty, what the attack accomplished was an assassination of a Lebanese commander, as such, Islamic resistance commander, I believe he's called. And that does not bode well for the security of the nation itself. That they are pretty much at the hands of what the Hezbollah is doing, and they're unable to control the political conversation as well as law and order situation that surrounds the entire Hezbollah question.
Indeed, ma'am. Requesting you to stay on with us because we're tracking updates as far as this particular attack is concerned. We're now learning that Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps has called for revenge after the death of Hezbollah's military commander Haytham Ali Tabatabai, who was killed in the Israeli airstrike in southern Beirut. Tabatabai, who was a senior figure within the Iran-backed group and was the highest-ranking Hezbollah commander to be killed by Israel since the November 2024 ceasefire aimed at halting hostilities between the two sides. Hezbollah has confirmed his death, and a funeral was held in Beirut as well. There were hundreds of supporters of the terror group chanting anti-US and anti-Israel slogans. Meanwhile, Iran has condemned the strike, called it cowardly, and the Revolutionary Guards Corps has emphasized that Hezbollah's right to avenge the death of its fighters is quote-unquote unquestionable. On the other hand, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that Israel will continue to target Hezbollah's military infrastructure to prevent the group from rebuilding its power. Still with us on the broadcast is Ms. Shruti Dasgupta. Ma'am, realistically speaking, what do you make of the efforts of Hezbollah to regroup? There was a sizable blow dealt by the Israelis and the Americans to Iran in the 12-day war that we witnessed earlier this year itself. It's not just their stockpiles that were depleted, but as far as the financial links are concerned, that too has been affected. We've seen a regime change in Syria also ever since the ceasefire was inked last year.
You've made a wonderful connections there, Pia. Exactly. The Syrian regime change ensured that the direct supply line was interrupted by the help of former Al-Qaeda leader Al-Julani, now Al-Shara. So that man sitting in pocket of USA is happy to disrupt the flow of arms at the behest of USA, and that leaves Hezbollah in a very tight situation where money and arms are not easily available, while Israeli strikes continue to deplete their numbers as well as arsenal. But Iran has the Iran war has shown that maybe Iran was not in such a bad position as the world would like to believe it to be, and their resistance continues. The fact that the statement that came out that revenge is obvious, that means we can see further skirmishes, whether military in terms of nature or via guerrilla warfare or via skirmishes through terrorist groups is something to be seen. But there is going to be a retaliation against Israel, and hence peace in the Middle East is not something either Iran, Hezbollah, or even Israel itself is now going to be looking forward to in the coming days. Hezbollah is going to regroup. It has not lost its political will. They were not thrown out of political power of Lebanon, even though the Lebanese government under US persuasion tried to put that in force. So Hezbollah continues to have a very strong hold on Lebanese politics as well as military and civil infrastructures. They will continue to try and grow. The country is of course not cut off from the rest of the world, so there are no sanctions on it like that. That would, or at least similar to Iran, there are no sanctions on Lebanon. That would kind of cripple Hezbollah as such. But Israel faces another enemy just by another name, the same enemy by another name. Just like how Hamas is now being Islamic Jihad renamed, this is going to be Hezbollah. Of course, it doesn't need to be renamed because it has not been found guilty and has not lost international conversations as yet. So it is going to continue under Hezbollah and continue to regroup. Once it does lose complete international favor, or whether it's when it starts looking bad to be called Hezbollah, they'll find another name to go by it. So Israel will continue to face a lot of aggression in the Middle East just by mere existence.
Ma'am, requesting you to stay put with us. We're tracking some updates this time from Israel itself. We're now learning that tensions are escalating in Israel's defense establishment as Defense Minister Katz and IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir have clashed over the handling of the 7th October 2023 Hamas terror attack. Katz has ordered a reinvestigation of the military's internal review and has frozen promotions for 30 days, prompting Zamir to accuse the minister of undermining the IDF's readiness. The Lieutenant General has defended the findings of a report by Major General Sami Turgeman, which held officers accountable for failures, and has stated that any further review should be conducted by an independent committee. Meanwhile, Israel Katz has insisted that the defense establishment comptroller will issue recommendations within 30 days before decisions on appointments are finalized. This public dispute has now drawn political attention as well, with Prime Minister Netanyahu expected to meet both the leaders. Critics, including former defense ministers, have warned that the feud risks politicizing the army and harming military effectiveness. Stay with us. The broadcast is Ms. Shruti Dasgupta. I wanted to understand from you, how do you read into this tiff? It's not just behind closed doors, it's quite public, the accusations that are being traded. What are the implications of this?
Well, the first one being the last line of your report, that there is a politicization of the IDF itself. It is not remaining completely apolitical in nature and a military arm of Israel. It is being influenced by political actors themselves. Of course, the blame game is going to happen because that's what the world has been asking, with so many eyes and so many guns pointed at the borders. How did the October 7th attack happen in such a large scale, causing so much damage? Who took their eye off the ball? And whoever ends up holding this hot potato will find themselves not just shamed by the world, but ridiculed by their own people, despite the fact that they might have been doing their duties. So the blame game shall continue. They will want to find somebody to hold responsible and accountable for the deaths that happened, because internal military failure was definitely part of what the October 7th attack was accomplished at such a level. So there is going to be a lot of finger pointing. Internal fractures within the IDF is not good for the military itself, because it is already under a lot of strain. In the past few days, we've seen a lot of commanders come out and say they no longer can hold on to such a high level of military actions year after year, month after month. So military itself is under strain. With such kind of accusations going back and forth, it kind of puts the low morale of the army a little lower than it should be, and faith in the upper echelons of the military structure seems to be on the shaky ground. So hopefully they will find a lesser public way of addressing their problems and find a way to knit the hole that was there in their security infrastructure that led to an attack which has led to a 2-year war with Gaza and Palestine.
Indeed, ma'am. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking our time, of course, putting all of that into context and sharing your perspective.